Hey everybody, it's Josh. I'm out on this rainy day, taking a little break, getting some shelter from the storm. And it made me think of the love of Jesus Christ and how he is revealed to us within the scriptures. Now, looking at the Old Testament compared to the New Testament, obviously we see so many prophecies being fulfilled within the New Testament, to the fact that really, if you look at it with an honest, objective eye, it becomes undeniable. Unless you have these preconceived notions, these biases, keeping you from the truth of the revelation of Jesus Christ, the revelation of our God, then you can see our God, the author of life, in a profound way. What do I mean by this? So, obviously, the love and the mercy of Jesus Christ, it is venerated in almost every single religion, spirituality, philosophy, and faith. Whether these other faiths and spiritualities and religions know it or not, Jesus Christ plays a huge role in how they worship what they conceive to be God, what they perceive to be God. What do I mean by that? Look at the main religions. We see that Islam takes Jesus Christ, makes him a prophet. We see Hinduism taking Jesus Christ, making him a small g god, part of their pantheon of gods. We see Buddhism venerating Jesus Christ as this enlightened dude, this insanely moral man who can help them reach that enlightenment and nirvana themselves. Then we look at faith in general. The New Age, New Thought, generic spiritualities, almost anywhere you turn. Even the opposition like Satanism and things like this. They take Jesus Christ and make him into whatever is convenient for them. But Jesus Christ isn't any of those things. Jesus Christ is who we strive to be, whether we know it or not. Jesus Christ is who we are desperate for. He is God made flesh. He is God revealed to us. He is Emmanuel, God with us. Our God participates in the suffering with us. He doesn't just sit back, as we see a lot in the Old Testament with most figures outside of maybe some of the chosen prophets. He doesn't just sit back and allow them to suffer needlessly and unexplainably. Now, even to these prophets, the suffering didn't make sense. Look at Job. Look at King David. Look at Moses. Look at Joseph. Look at anyone. Elijah. Anyone in the Old Testament, they did not comprehend why they needed to suffer the way they did. They thought maybe because I'm sinful, I'm paying the price. But this is where it gets a little sticky. This is where we start to learn that is not the reason for our suffering. I always go back to the chapter in John where Jesus and the disciples come across the blind man, and the disciples ask him, "Rabbi, is this man blind because of his sins or his father's sins?" And Jesus says, "This man is not blind because of his sins or his father's sins. This man is blind because the good works of God can be shown through him." That is the reason for our suffering. So the good works of God can be shown through him. But it goes so much deeper than that. Jesus Christ spoke in parables, in riddles and mysteries. We spend our lifetime unpacking, those of us who give our lives to Christ. These parables show us a dumbed down view, still profound, but dumbed down, because God's foolishness confounds the wisest man's wisdom. It confuses the most intellectual mind. We see God working in our lives, allowing us, yes, to suffer, but we don't understand why. We don't understand the point of all this. We might even turn away from God because of this suffering. And it makes sense. I see all the time the atheists coming up with the problem of evil and suffering. This is something I'm going to get to a little bit more in another video. But the problem in evil and suffering, it is not the problem that you think it is. Atheists will argue that if God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good, then he cannot allow suffering in this world. When we lean on our own understandings, when we look at it from a prideful, selfish, narrow lens, we see that yes, it looks like God is this moral monster, that God is coming down to just put us through hell for no reason except for maybe his own amusement. Why would he do this to us? Because we know what makes us happy and joyful in life. We know what brings us peace and fulfillment. Why would he not allow us to have these things? All of us, if he loves us so much. Why evil and why suffering? When we lean on our own understandings and don't trust in God and his plan, then it becomes a stumbling block that is insurmountable. It becomes something that we cannot overcome, because you see a moral monster. You see someone who is cruel and punishes us for sometimes no reason. A child with cancer, a parent losing their children. No matter what it is, if it's in our life, then we feel this extra sting from it. But there is the reason to feel that sting, to understand that pain, to cry out to God in a desperation, maybe even an anger towards him, begging him to please, if you are all powerful, if you are all knowing, if you are all good, do not keep letting these horrible things happen to me. These times of struggle and suffering, these times lead us to personal growth. We can't see anything past our present pain. We can't see anything past our present prideful pursuits. These prideful pursuits, this present pain, it consumes us until we let go, until we cry out to God to help us. If we look at the revelation of Jesus Christ, who Jesus Christ is, this figure that every single person adores, whether they admit it or not, secretly they are thankful for his mercy and his love. Now, their pain, their suffering might cloud that understanding of him, might tie him in with the wrathful, vengeful, unmerciful God. And having him at odds with your pursuit of pleasure, your pursuit of desires, these chasing after dopamine hits, these chasing substances to give you fulfillment, random meaningless sex to give you fulfillment, gambling, even things that seem harmless like video games and entertainment. These things, they consume your thoughts, they become your God, and you cannot see past your worship of your new God. It's been happening since the time of Adam and Eve in the garden. When they ate the forbidden fruit from that tree, when they were seduced by the deceiver, by the devil, they tried to become their own God. The devil told them, don't listen to God. You will not die if you eat this fruit. You will have the knowledge of God. And he just doesn't want you to have that knowledge, because you will be better served being your own God, being your own divine being. Don't listen to this monster who wants to control you, this monster who wants to see you suffer, to avoid all the good, all the pleasure in your life. But then Jesus Christ throws a wrench in that entire view. Because Jesus Christ is not distant from our suffering. Jesus Christ enters into our suffering and redeems us through it. That is the reason for our suffering, so the good works of God can be shown through us. That argument, the main argument against God of Christianity is, if God is all-knowing, if God is all-powerful, if God is all-good, and he allows this evil in the world, then he is not truly our God. He is not truly all-knowing and all-powerful and all-good. One of those things cannot be true if he allows this suffering. But we are thinking in a very narrow lens, through a very misguided, misunderstood chain of thought. God works in ways that we will never comprehend, at least in this lifetime, unless he reveals it to us. I tell you from my personal experience, which I know doesn't mean much to the people who are suffering right now, but those of you who've heard my story, there's a link in the description to my testimony, by the way. Those of you who know my story know that I've suffered horrendously for 13 years before I was saved. And that I had the same view of God. If there is a God out there, surely he's abandoned me or he hates me. So that disproved the Christian God to me, which is one of the many reasons why I wasn't searching for the Christian God when I went out to pray for the first time in my adult life. I went out to talk to him, whoever he was, not thinking there was anyone there. While I loved Jesus Christ, while I absolutely adored this loving, suffering servant, I was thinking, this cannot be true, because an all-loving God would never allow me to suffer in the ways that I have. Suffer not only my disability, my constant agonizing pain from a damaged nerve during my first back surgery, my poverty that had me laying awake at night wondering how I'm going to pay my bills, how I'm going to keep a roof over my family's head, my family, my friends dying and taking their own lives, people so close to me. And then finally, when my wife had 2 miscarriages and both of my parents, my dad had a heart attack, and my mom had a stroke, and I was a ship being tossed astray in an angry ocean, adrift at sea, and there was no sight of hope, no lighthouse guiding my way. It was just waiting for death, wishing for death. When will it come to take me from this pain? Because at that point, I was hoping, I was praying that death was just, like the atheists say, just the end. Just cut off from this agony. Finally escaping this hell. But no, God, as Jesus Christ does for all of us who seek Him genuinely, He entered into my suffering. He redeemed me. He gave me mercy. He gave me comfort. He says, "Come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And He gave me that rest. He gave me that peace. He gave me that comfort. But here's the thing. It wasn't just that. It was such a miracle of transformation in my life. The anxiety that had crippled me finally vanished. Vanished. Sure, there's some residue of everything in the past life. Absolutely, there always will be. It's there as a reminder. The suffering there as a reminder of who we were before we died to ourselves and were born again. Why do we have to die to ourselves? Why must we die and be born again? It's very simple. We are married to the world. We are married to the devil. Whether we like to admit it or not, as the atheist David Foster Wallace says, we all worship something, whether we want to admit it or not. In the real world, there is no such thing as atheism. We go through this life worshiping whatever God we had. Even the relationships I had with my children, with my wife. But those things all turned on me. Those things all began to devour me. Not because I did not love them, but because my love for them made it hurt that much worse. Because I loved them so much, I did not want to be an anchor upon them. If you read the Old Testament without the New, you are reading an incomplete book. And it may look like God is a monster. It may look, as a lot of the Gnostics and New Age spirituality people and mystics and things like that say, that God in the Old Testament is actually Satan. They say this. It's actually Satan because he doesn't want you to be happy. He doesn't want you to go out and pursue your pleasures, the things that give you life. No, he doesn't. Because those things will leave you empty. Those things will leave you devoid of anything resembling fulfillment in life. As that old saying goes, we have a God-sized void within us, and we try to fill it with whatever we can. And this goes with every other religion, including Christianity, except for true Christianity. True Christianity, a relationship with Jesus Christ, is the only way to peace. The only way to eternal hope. The only way to love that transcends this world. We go through this life, and it is awful, the things we endure. But those things are not there to curse you. Those things are not there because God is not a loving, all-good God. Those things are there so the good works of God can be shown through you. So you can die to yourself, be born again, and become that beacon of love and light that Christ was in your life. Christ comes to you, bringing you love and mercy. Never forget that. Never forget the love he shows you once you've felt it. Because it's easy to drift away. It's easy to drift back into the things of this world. It's like when you're in a new relationship and your ex calls you up and is telling you about all the good times you've had together, leaving out all the bad times. So this drugs and the alcohol and the sexual immorality and the gambling and the whatever it is, the greed, the jealousy, the anger, those things seduce you time and time again. But we all must be tempted. We all must be able to overcome that temptation, and none of us can do it. So why does God put that in our path? Because we can overcome the temptation because we are born into the body of Christ. We become one with God. He guides us through the Holy Spirit. Every footstep, every thought, every action, guiding us to a life of salvation. To a life that truly means something. It truly means everything. I know that you feel like the suffering makes it seem like God has abandoned you or does not love you. You don't know why God has put these things in your path. You don't understand why the suffering you must endure just keeps slamming into you like that angry ocean, the waves pounding at you until you break. But brokenness and weakness is what God works best through. If you're not broken, then you are still in pieces, stitched together in this world. And you have stitched yourself together. You have put yourself together the way you thought, the way you deemed was fulfilling. That person must be torn down and die. If you are not broken, you are not malleable. You are not able to be molded by the great potter who is God. He won't just put you back together in the stitches that you were before. He puts you back together the way you were always meant to be. Walking side by side with Jesus Christ. Becoming a force of love and light in the world, not a force of more darkness. Because I don't care how good of a person you think you are, how great of a person you might think you are, how awesome you might be, how your ego, your pride, and your narcissism tells you, I am somebody, I am special. None of us are special, and all of us are special. And God has an amazing plan for us. God is going to guide us towards that fulfillment. God is going to guide us in life in a way you've never thought possible. And God shows you that it's still not yet complete. You may think there's no better feeling than being loved by Jesus Christ, and yet the love only grows, and you grow as that love. God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-loving, and He loves you. But He gives you the choice. He gives you the chance to accept him or reject him. He already knows which way you'll choose. I get it. But you have that choice to go and to leave your life behind, to die to yourself and to follow him when you are born again. Or to keep on living by your own understanding. To keep on living that empty life that you think will finally lead to something miraculous, to something great. I hope that you finally have your eyes open and your ears open to hear and see. I love you all so much. God bless.